Hello everyone, today I want to talk about the new upcoming character Navia and hopefully help you figure out if she fits your playstyle and team composition, so ultimately if this character is worth your wishes. Her normal attacks are pretty basic, so let's get straight into the elemental skill. She has a gun in her umbrella, which you can aim and shoot freely, and you have to reload it by triggering geo-elemental reactions with any character in your team. There's some scaling to it with a little bit of a soft cap at 3, basically without 3 charges I expect the skill is not even worth pressing. You can go past it though, up to 6 I believe, for a little more damage. On screen you also see the little bullet counter to keep track of it. And similar to Klee's elemental skill, the skill itself has 2 charges. Even without any constellations, you can use it twice back to back. As for her burst skill, it's raining down constant cannon fire, but it doesn't seem to hurt very much. It's mainly there to complement the elemental skill by recharging her gun and applying Geo to trigger some reactions, which effectively does the same. As for passives, the first one extra rewards from Fontaine dispatch missions, the second one after pressing the elemental skill, Navia gets a 4-second Geo infusion and increased damage on normal and charge attacks, and the last one for each Pyro, Hydro, Cryo or Electro character, Navia gets 20% attack bonus, stacking up 2 times for a maximum of 40%. This character seems very straightforward to me. You press Navia's burst, rotate through your entire team to charge her up, and get back to Navia to fire her first shot with the elemental skill. Then you use the Geo infusion to do a bunch of normal attacks to recharge her gun again and fire her second shot. So I imagine her teams will feel a lot like Tenari teams, for example. Very fast paced, you just shoot your load quickly and you're done on this character. Also, by the way, her burst skill has very little downtime, which thematically reminds me a lot of Ayato, a character designed around the elemental skill with the burst being mostly complementary. Again, only in design. I know Ayato can do a lot of damage with it. Maybe there's some venti splash damage synergy in the same way like there's with Ganyu's burst skill. The gunshots of Navia's bursts raining down in this clip look like they would behave similarly, but in general the multipliers on her burst don't really impress me. The build also seems very straightforward on this character. Next patch there will be a new Forza event weapon, otherwise it might be interesting to experiment around with the sacrificial greatsword. As for artifacts, I think a good starting point will be the 2-piece golden troop set. Otherwise, in certain team compositions it might make sense to run a 4-piece archaic Petra set, but in the long run you definitely want to aim for the new Nighttime Whispers something set. I feel like her damage will be heavily dependent on this, so I can see people being not impressed with Navia on release. It's gonna take a while until there's some good testing done. As for teams, first of all, you already have a Geo character, so getting Geo Resonance seems like a good idea, especially since you will also be shielded by Crystallize most of the time. So far, I only see 2 real options. The first one is obviously Zhongli, and the other one will be Albedo. And in Albedo's case, having a C6 Goro might really pay off for that crit damage buff to Geo characters. And in the remaining 2 slots, you probably want to satisfy Navia's passive skill by picking a Pyro, Hydro, Cryo or Electro character, and even more importantly, they also need to do damage unconditionally since you don't really spend a lot of time normal attacking in Navia's teams. First, if your option is Zhongli, I expect him to sustain your team, so you're only looking for sub-DPS characters. For Pyro, that's Zhangling or Dia, then a good choice for Cryo should be Rosaria. I skip over Furina because I genuinely think Furina plus Zhongli is a terrible combo. For Furina you want heals, not shields. And then a good choice for a Hydro character should be Mona, because Navia does a lot of damage really quickly, so it combos really well with Mona's burst. Next, Ayato as a sub-DPS, there's like a build to deal a lot of damage with this burst skill only, so that should work really well. And then for Electro characters you have something like Yai or Fischl. Pick any 2 of those and it should be a really good team with Zhongli and Navia. And in Albedo's case, I think you definitely want a healer, so something like I said before, a Constellation 6 Goro would be a great choice here, and any of these sub-DPS characters again, for example Fischl. And if you don't have Goro, don't want to run him, something like Kokomi or Shinobu would be a good choice simply for being a Hydro or Electro character to feed into Navia's passive skill and generate a lot of crystal shards with their great off-field Hydro or Electro application. And in case you don't have or don't want to run Zhongli or Albedo, you can pick something like Baizu as your healer and play an Aggravate team with Fischl or Yae Miko, and then something like an Anemo character to infuse with Electro for the Viridescent set, and the buffs of Kazuha for example, or Lynette, I think she has an attack buff, and if you have Constellation 2 she does very reasonable damage with her burst skill as well. And last but not least, a nice free-to-play option with only 4-star characters aside from Navia. And if we talk about attack scaling characters, we can obviously not let Bennett go unmentioned. And if he's here, Zhang Ling will always be a great choice. And the same is kind of true for Rosaria. Her burst skill also snapshots, so both of these characters get full benefit from Bennett's attack buff, even if they are off-field. And of course the same is true kind of for Navia, because she does the big bulk of her damage with her elemental skill while on field. Alright, that's basically it, but here at the end I'd like to take some time to highlight a concern I have with Navia releasing. Having a character designed around the current iteration of Geo-elemental reactions makes me feel like a Geo rework is pretty much off the table. And in my opinion, Geo reactions are pretty boring, even visually they seem uninspired, and not reworking them seems like a wasted opportunity to make existing Geo characters more interactive with other elements. To be clear, Navia herself isn't really affected by this, she seems like a really fun character, and the same might be true for future Geo characters. Also, just to mention it, Navia's animations are completely over the top and I'm here for it, especially with her halberd. A lot of the Fontaine characters are ridiculous, it's great. Alright, now I'm actually done. I hope this was somewhat helpful to figure out if this character appeals to you. I will get Navia, try her out, possibly even her weapon, so stay tuned for that. Until then, have fun and bye bye.